So I have been to, as I think Joe alluded to, I have been to every single TOC conference, and the energy and the enthusiasm and that spirit of collaboration that I think Joe was talking about seems new to me this year here, and it's fantastic. I just get the sense that people are rolling up their sleeves, just getting the work done to figure this out, but most importantly, having fun doing it. So I just think that's absolutely incredible. This picture has absolutely nothing to do with my talk, but I saw this a few days ago via Twitter, and I just couldn't resist. Before I tell you a bit about what we've learned at Safari Books Online, I want to talk about why digital subscriptions and access models matter for publishers. There's two reasons why subscriptions matter now for books more than they did 10 years ago when Safari first got started. First, we all know readers are much more comfortable with digital reading and other digital media. The percent of adults that own an e-reader or a tablet doubled this Christmas. Nearly 48% of adults in the US own a tablet, an e-reader, or both. The second reason why subscriptions matter more today has to do with something Kevin Kelly talked about last year on this stage: the shift toward streams of information. Broadcast TV, of course, has always streamed their shows, but it's the same stream to everyone that's tuned in. But now, you can program your own personal stream of TV shows and movies. And when consumption shifts across multiple devices in the house and throughout the day, unlimited on-demand streaming can be very appealing. How many of you subscribe to Netflix streaming? I can't actually see, but it looks like a lot. The same thing is happening with music. Streaming models are an important alternative and complement to purchase models, and consumers are growing more comfortable with them. And access models are becoming common across other very non-digital product and service categories. Peer-to-peer access models are yet another twist on pay-as-you-go, like relay rides here, which lets you sell your excess car capacity to your neighbors. And here's a search I did for nearby rooms during the TOC conference on Airbnb, which is that same peer-to-peer model, but for short-term room rentals. There's a growing product and service economy around access and membership models that reduce the upfront costs associated with things like buying a car, hiring an assistant, or buying enough music, movies, or books to build a great library. In addition to reducing the upfront cost, subscription access models also offer on-demand convenience. You can now subscribe to toothpaste, and a sparkly animation seemed appropriate. And you can subscribe to other mundane items like diapers and soap. Clearly, a lot of people think there's a real market in access models for a broad range of products and services, and I happen to agree. At Safari Books Online, we already know there's an audience and a proven business model for subscription access to books and videos in some categories. And we think the time has come to look at whether and how that model can work more broadly. And we're not alone. This is 24 Symbols, a startup which offers mass market titles for a monthly subscription. And here's a quick example in the higher ed space. Companies that started with physical textbook rental are quickly moving to digital access-based models. There's even been some talk about publishers coming together and building a Hulu of ebooks, which is similar to what Safari Books Online began as a decade ago, a joint venture between publishers to capitalize on a growing new market. But there's also reasons to be wary about jumping in too quickly into the subscription business, something Walmart and Blockbuster learned the hard way when they tried to take on Netflix. So what does a successful and publisher-friendly subscription service for ebooks look like? And more importantly, can it work for your kind of books? These are the kind of books that Safari started with: professional technology books for technology professionals. And while that's still a vital part of our business, less than half of the 20,000 titles we now offer are primarily aimed at those technology professionals. Our selection has expanded with our business well outside of the IT department, both as everyone's job has grown more dependent on technology skills and as we've worked to bring in a wider range of titles to help our customers do their job more effectively. Safari is most definitely not just about tech books anymore. Here's the information diet from Clay Johnson, who we heard from last night. We've also branched out into entirely new vertical markets, including with Creative Edge, our subscription product for creative professionals. Here's EPUB, straight to the point, from Liz Castro, who did a great session yesterday on EPUB in the wild. Again, these are not the kind of books historically associated with Safari Books Online. I have read Presentation Zen, by the way, but I totally forgot all of the great stuff when I discovered that sparkly animation thing. So, has expanding beyond software developers and IT professionals worked? Yes, quite well, actually. And we're on track to do even better in 2012. And as we diversify outside of the core technology audience, we continue to see very healthy growth. This is 6 years worth of double-digit revenue growth, a rate we've sustained for a decade. So what's in this kind of a model for a publisher? Now, to be clear, I'm not saying this will work for every category of publishing, but I do believe it can work quite well for a lot more than are currently doing it. There's 3 main reasons to take a closer look at subscriptions: DRM, the payment model, and new markets that it opens up. And I'll talk about all 3. Well, I'm not actually going to talk very much about DRM because in the context of a streaming web-based service, I don't really have to, at least not in the way that most people do. Access is not ownership, and this model mostly sidesteps that often contentious discussion. When you talk about ebook sales, on the other hand, it's a very different landscape. These are the top Google results for a search on Kindle DRM. And it's not limited to Amazon. Right or wrong, a large percentage of those who buy ebooks with DRM want to remove that DRM. Earlier, I asked how many of you are Netflix subscribers. Well, how many of you have heard complaints about Netflix DRM? Or for streaming music service Pandora? I should quickly point out that one of these top search results for Pandora DRM, interestingly enough, was for Kirk Biglione's chapter from Book: A Futurist's Manifesto. With subscription services, the customer expectations change, and they understand that continued access is predicated on continued payment. The second reason you should consider subscriptions is the payment model itself. When a book is sold at retail, the publisher and the author get the same amount whether the book is read once, twice, or 100 times, or 0 times for that matter. In a usage-based model, the publisher is paid only for what people actually read, but they're paid every single time that page or book is read. This is a bit of an oversimplification, but essentially we pay publishers per page viewed or per minute of video, and when you look at all those thousands of books and millions of site visits, some simple math can give you an average. In our case, the average publisher payment for 2011 works out to approximately 7 cents per book page viewed. So if the average book is, say, 400 pages, that means that when 400 pages of that book are read in Safari, the publisher gets a check for about $28. And if those same 400 pages are read again next month by the exact same people, it's another $28 check for the publisher. It's true that very few Safari customers read entire books cover to cover, but it's the aggregate behavior that matters. As an admittedly very rough comparison, I spent some time looking at the current New York Times hardcover nonfiction list. You can see that paying 7 cents per page stacks up quite favorably at a typical retail discount. I was also happy my 400 page count guess was right on. And when you have to track usage to pay your publishers, it means capturing an enormous amount of aggregate data. For example, although Safari is currently only available in English, this is a map showing where our customers are based on that usage data. The darker colors are more customers. 30% of our individual subscribers are outside of North America. And here's another example of what that usage data can tell us. The purple line near the bottom shows how strong mobile access has grown in the past year, closing in on Mac usage. Mobile is growing tremendously, but the lowly PC, that big line up top, keeps growing too, which suggests to me that mobile usage is additive rather than replacing desktop usage for our customers. That doesn't mean there aren't some very interesting differences with mobile. Historically, as you might expect, Safari's heaviest times of usage each day, shown here in gray, corresponded with the workday in the US. But on mobile devices, that usage has shifted to the evening hours, a time when customers previously weren't using the service at all. And something similar is happening on a weekly basis. Average usage always falls on the weekend, but mobile actually peaks during the weekend. We've also seen a big surge in usage of long-form video training on our iPad app during the weekend. In fact, video usage is up more than 70% from 12 months ago. This is aggregate data from hundreds of thousands of different readers, but it's usage for just one book. This is something called a heat map for one of the books in Safari. Each row is a chapter in the book, and each of the circles you see is a page within that chapter. The darker the circle, the more page views. This helps uncover hotspots deep within a book that can indicate opportunities for additional content. And one more data point, this one again in aggregate across all titles and users, and I won't get into too much detail, but what this shows here is that more than half of usage in our service is for titles that are more than 3 years old. The third reason I think you should pay attention to subscription models is because they have the potential to open up new markets. Yes, many of our individual subscribers are also consumers who are in the market for Kindle or Nook or Kobo or any number of ebook resellers, but the majority of Safari sales don't come from those customers. The majority of Safari sales come from institutional sales to companies, libraries, government agencies, and other organizations. Right now, libraries in particular are a sensitive subject when it comes to ebooks. The current struggles seem to imply it's a zero-sum game, that a publisher looking for a better payment scheme means stiffing a library or its patrons. We think our subscription model works really well for libraries, the patrons, and the publishers. In fact, more than 90% of the libraries that carry Safari renew and often expand their subscription every year. Libraries can manage their budget with predictable monthly subscription expenses and at the same time expand their offerings far beyond what they might be able to afford if they tried to purchase each title individually. And patron use is more efficient. With other services, patrons can wait weeks or months to get a title which often sits unused for a week or longer while they have it. With this model, the libraries pay for concurrent seats, and we have enough data to help libraries of any size plan for likely demand so people rarely, if ever, wait. And all that usage generates revenue for the publishers every single time a book is viewed. Libraries are a big part of our business, but the biggest part of our business is selling to other businesses and to government agencies and other institutions. We have more than 2,000 enterprise accounts around the world, ranging from teams of 2 all the way up to 20,000 or more seats. I had an opportunity to tour the offices of one of our larger financial services customers, and their corporate librarian showed me their on-site library. It included a variety of technology, marketing, management, business, finance kind of titles, the things you would expect in a corporate library. Part of her job was processing employee requests for new additions to that library, often in hard copy. Books available for checkout-style circulation and sent around the company on request. I asked how many copies of each title that she purchases when one is requested. This is a global company with many tens of thousands of employees. And how many copies do you think that she buys when she buys a physical book? 1. She loves Safari because it means 15,000 people in her company have unlimited access to our complete library. And as you can imagine, that generates quite a bit more in royalties than single-copy sales would. And our institutional sales aren't just to companies and government agencies. A lot of associations, whether they're personal, professional, affinity, or social, are always on the lookout for new member benefits. Discounts or included access to a great library of useful and interesting books and videos is a valuable member benefit for many types of organizations well beyond technology. So there's a lot of great reasons to look at subscription models to complement retail sales for many types of publishing. But as you've seen, the subscription business looks very different from what many of you may be used to. If you started selling direct, then you're already familiar with some of the things Eric Ries talked about last night, like web campaign conversion rates. We watch that too, but we also very carefully watch how well we convert those campaign respondents from a free trial into a paid subscription. By responding and adapting to the data that we see, now more than half of the people who sign up for a free trial will convert to a paid subscription when the trial is over. But perhaps the biggest lesson to learn from Safari Books Online when it comes to offering a compelling subscription library is that no publisher can do it alone. customers don't care nearly as much about our brands as we'd like to think they do. Safari works as well as it does because it offers a range of titles from more than 70 different publishers. These 2 slides don't even include all of them. In the core category of computer books, Safari now includes more than 95% of the titles in Bookscan's computer books category published each year. That makes it an easy choice for the libraries, companies, and associations that make up the bulk of our sales. So we've talked about 2 big reasons why the time is right for the growth of access-based models for books. Not in every single category, but in a lot more than even a few years ago. Readers are more comfortable now with digital and mobile reading, and they're more familiar with subscription and access models. I also talked about 3 reasons why subscriptions are worth a closer look. There's a lot less debate around DRM with those models. Usage payments are fair to readers, publishers, and authors. And for many types of books, these large collections have the potential to open up large new markets. If you want to learn more, please check out our website or drop me a line on Twitter or by email. Thank you very much.